new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire, the no-show. Who set you back because they didn't show up on day one, or day two, or ever again. And now your product launch is delayed because you're talking to alien abduction podcasters to track them down. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can help make sure your next hire sticks. In fact, businesses who use LinkedIn are 24% less likely to reopen a role in the next 12 months. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
Visible puts the ultimate wireless hack in the palm of your hand. With unlimited 5G wireless data and hotspot designed to keep you connected, powered by Verizon's 5G network. And no contract holding you back. Plans start at $25 a month, or get the premium Visible Plus Pro plan and save $10 on your first month when you use promo code HACK. Make the switch at visible.com. Terms apply. See visible.com for details.
AI is moving fast across the enterprise. But without visibility, it's just chaos. Different tools, different models, different teams using AI in completely different ways. ServiceNow turns that chaos into control. With the AI Control Tower, you see all your AI across the business in one place. What it's doing, what it's done, and what it's about to do. So you stay in control. To put AI to work for people, visit servicenow.com.
Hello and welcome to Summer Special of the Dragons Lair Pod, in partnership with the Riverside Sports Bar, Newport's home for live sport and the best burgers in the city. The eagle-eyed and eared of you will have recognised that I'm not Jamie, but in fact Gavin. And a bit like when the Beatles used to let Ringo Starr sing a song, they've allowed me to host in Jamie's absence. But I'm joined, as always, by the face of Newport, Mr. Hollywood himself, Gareth Leclerc. How are you, Gareth?
Cheers for that, mate. Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, all good. Good to be back talking Dragons, to be fair. It's summer holidays, so I'm, knee-deep in soft plays and parks at the minute. So, yeah, happy to be chatting rugby for a change.
And excitingly, we're also joined by Dragons defence coach, Dale McLeod. Prior to joining the Dragons, Dale has held a range of coaching roles in the Southern Hemisphere, Northland, Southland, Moana Pacifica, and Tonga, amongst the clubs and sides he has coached at. So, Dale, welcome to the Dragons Lair Pod.
Thank you.
So, the fans, lots of questions for us, but we're really interested to begin with, like we always do, Dale. Tell us a bit about your rugby journey. How did you end up playing this silly game and then coaching it?
Oh, a little bit like Wales. New Zealand's a passionate rugby country, and I can remember playing back as a 4-year-old in the frost, 9 o'clock in the morning. I still remember those days where you didn't want to fall over in the ground because they were that hard. And then it was just part of what we did. My dad was a rugby player. All my uncles and were rugby players, and it was what you did. And then I went up through the grades. But when I first started playing, I was I either played like as an 8-year-old in an under 12 side or a 12-year-old in an under 18 side, because I lived in a wee country town where whatever the biggest age group was whatever the team was. And then we moved to a bigger town where I got to play in sort of my own age groups, and then progressed from there into representative rugby for North Otago. And then I went overseas and played in Australia. And that's about as far as my playing. As far as my coaching went, I returned to New Zealand for the World Cup in '87, and I was still playing. And I played for probably too long. I should have started coaching earlier. And then I started coaching at about the age of, I always coached as a player coach and junior teams. Even when I was about 16, I coached junior teams. And then I progressed through the ranks in New Zealand through into senior teams, representative teams, and then into super teams and international teams. And it's a pretty standard sort of journey for a New Zealand boy. And I've loved every minute of it. Wouldn't change nothing.
What position were you, Dale? Sorry, mate.
No, go on.
What position were you back in the day?
What do you think I was?
I'm thinking maybe a flanker. You're strong on your defence, so
I was thinking back row forward.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was thinking the back row.
No, I was a 10.
A 10.
Really?
Outside half, yeah. So I told people what to do and put them in the right places. And I didn't mind people, a little bit like Tinas, I suppose. I didn't mind people running down my channel. So, but yeah, I was a 10.
Oh, it's good stuff.
And what was your first kind of really senior coaching role? What club was that at?
I was playing for a club called Lincoln Township in Canterbury. And I started coaching their senior team first year. I stopped playing for them. And then I coached them and then went into a team, Sydenham Rugby in Christchurch, and then progressed into the Canterbury under-21s and then into Northland. And yeah, that was my main club was probably, I would say, Sydenham. My boys played there in Christchurch, and yeah.
And what's it like coaching in New Zealand? I imagine it's similar to Wales. There's a lot of pressure and there's a lot more press kind of coverage than perhaps if you were coaching in England or Scotland or somewhere perhaps.
Yeah, look, I think it's very similar. I think you'll find the press is a bit more unforgiving here. Like in New Zealand, at the highest level with the All Blacks, you'll have those sort of pressures. Like at Super Rugby and at provincial rugby, you got what you got. It wasn't too brutal. It wasn't too harsh. There was honesty, but I feel that over here is probably a bit harsher. A lot more passionate over here. Like we get the NPC. So New Zealand sort of lost a bit of its way, I believe, with Super Rugby because the tribalism disappeared a little bit because your teams were blended from players all over New Zealand, whereas your provincial championship was, if you're in Northland, it was the Northland people. If you're in Auckland, it was the Auckland. So everyone was really tribal around the support of their team. So I really enjoyed that part of it. And when you come over here, it's very much the same, and it may have got a wee bit lost in Wales for a start off when all the teams were merging and trying to find. But I found that my first experience with the Dragons last year was nothing short of amazing. Just the people, and I love honesty, and people just, if you play rubbish, well, tell us we play rubbish. If we play well, tell us we play well, but get behind us. And I found that the support we had last year was second to none. So really enjoyed that.
And why Dragons? Because your career's been in the Southern Hemisphere. It's a long way from New Zealand here.
Yeah, well, look, there's a couple of reasons. I've always had a high admiration of the Welsh. And if you're in New Zealand, like a lot of Welsh people might not think this, but I grew up in the eras when I remember being a young fella watching rugby with my dad when the Lions come over and you had Barry John, Gareth Edwards, like the list goes on of the superstars that played for Wales and then played for the Lions. And even if the Wales went to New Zealand now, they would still fill stadiums because the people really relate to the Welsh way of doing things, Welsh rugby. It's very similar to New Zealand. The people are very similar. They care about what they do. And I got the opportunity. It was when I had here, I was just offered a new 4-year deal at Northland. And then I was offered a deal and opportunity in Japan. The day after I signed for the Dragons, they asked me if I'd still consider. And I just really wanted to come to this part of the world. And as a coach in New Zealand, we have a great coaching pathway. We used to have a great development system, and it went by the wayside a wee bit before COVID and during COVID and that sort of thing. And if you're an aspiring coach, and I'm probably getting towards the end of those type of things, but I believe I've got another 5 to 8 years coaching in me, that I want to be the best version of myself. And I thought coming here and testing myself in what I believe is one of the best competitions in the world, one of the toughest competitions in the world, and doing it for a Welsh team would be pretty cool. And, when you look at things like budgets, money, so we're on a totally different platform from some of the teams we meet. But that's just what it is. You just got to get on with it. So look, mate, for me, it's a massive challenge and it really tests me. And I want to get better every day. And this is meeting that purpose. So Wales is always an opportunity that I wouldn't turn down.
And how did you find the URC? Because it is a strange competition, isn't it? Made up of teams from British Isles, but also Italy and South Africa. It's quite a weird competition to get your head around. How did you find it?
Oh, I loved it, mate. Just because every week, like when I first got here, I think we went up, we played a Welsh team here, then we went up and played a Scottish team, then we had an Italian team, then, a South African team, all within about the first 5, 6 weeks of the comp. Now, if you look at Welsh teams, they play similar. If you look at South African teams, play similar, Italian, Scottish, but they're not all the same. And I found in New Zealand that at Super Rugby level, the Crusaders always play the same way, the Blues, whereas most of what you did was very similar. And coming over here, in different countries, different worlds, the international sides have an influence on how your supply, the teams that are in their pathway play. And I'm really excited to see how we can change some of the way that the Dragons have played over the years. And it just makes us better coaches because you have to prepare really well every week.
And what's your coaching philosophy? What's a Dale McLeod side? What does it look like?
Well, look, every side you get, you not often can determine what their strengths and weaknesses are. So for me, it's one, developing the players to be better every day, giving them the autonomy to express themselves and play, but really to get them to buy into where we're all heading, get them aligned, get us heading in the same direction, and then let's just go and get it, and we'll live and die by what we say we're going to do. But yeah, I just want players to get better every day, give their 100% effort, and then the rest will take care of itself.
So when you were coaching Northland or Southland or whoever in New Zealand, was your playing style kind of dictated by the players you had to a degree?
Well, yes, and so like the NPC in New Zealand is very much about who's got the most money, the biggest population. And when I first went into NPC coaching, I went down to, I'd been in Northland and then I went to Southland, and Brad Moore, who was over here with Scarlets, is a good mate of mine. He's a good coach. I connected with him about Southland to see what his thoughts were because he'd been there for about 3 years, and I sort of followed in after him, or a couple of coaches after him. And he just opened my eyes up to that. Over the previous 10 years in the NPC, the 4 teams that spent the most money on their player budget usually come in the first 4. The rest fought for the middle, and the 2 teams that spent the least money always come last and second last. And he said, you've really got to go in there with an open mind that you're going there to make that group better, and you measure yourself against where they get to, and make the province proud. They were the most important things. And so it probably set me up really well for this role, to be fair.
Yeah, I was going to say, did the Dragons appeal in the same way? Because our playing budget perhaps isn't as big as some of the other sides around us.
Yeah, 100%.
So what are the vibes like in the camp at the minute? They've been back in camp now for a week or so, haven't they? A couple of weeks. What's the vibes like? How are the players feeling?
Oh, look, mate, they're really excited. Like, I thought they might have come in a wee bit sort of, because I arrived this time last year and I seen what they came back in like, and I thought that was a couple of things. One, they didn't perform that well, but 2, it's a long campaign over here if you don't know how to get your sort of some energy boost during it or in the middle of it. And I was sort of like a fish out of water because I wasn't used to a competition like this. It went for what we were in for 47 weeks last year, playing in 2 different competitions across 5 continents or whatever it is. And I thought they'd come in a wee bit sort of tired back in, but the energy's been really good. And I suppose that comes with the cohesion of having just about the same group back. Like, you just see the growth in the boys. Sometimes you don't really see the growth in a campaign, but they go away, they reflect, and then they come back, and then all of a sudden they're doing things that you were probably trying to get them to do last year. And when I say last year, it's only a month, 5-6 weeks ago that we finished. So look, I found the group really good. It's been really good to come back in, and you're straight into places. I feel where we are now after the first 3 weeks is where we were by the end of pre-season last year. Like, boys have come in fitter. They're a lot more motivated, bouncing their step, a smile. So even though there was some tough things last year, a lot more positives and some really good energy built by it, and a bit of belief goes a long way, So really excited, and we just got to keep the boys fit and healthy because we haven't got the budget to go and get buy
No.
another team. But so we're and at the moment they're working really hard. We did a Bronco test today, and
Oh,
boys are really good. So yeah,
Fun.
it's good to see, mate, and like we're doing things now that like we hadn't even thought of doing this time last year. So really exciting, and I can't wait to get back into it.
Oh, amazing. That's really good to hear. But I think you touched on last season and the improvements. I think as a fan, watching the Dragons for a long time, there was noticeable differences last year. I think it was a really positive campaign. You said about us all sort of going forward together. What were the sort of fixes you were looking for last season? I think particularly around the defence. I think we all noticed a big step change there. How did you get that going?
Well, like for first, so when you learn as a coach, every time you might know something in one area, but it might mean nothing when you come into a new area. So when I first arrived at the Dragons, you could see that they're a little bit apprehensive about changing anything. But if we didn't change, we're going to do the same stuff and get the same result. And the first was getting the belief we needed to change some systems because they leaked tries. I'm not saying we didn't leak some tries this year, but we're a lot more staunch, and was building a bit of belief and a bit of want, and what did the jersey mean. So first I have to get them on board, and then I have to get them to understand that when they put the jersey on, that they've really got to go out there and empty the tank, and it's not their jersey to keep, it's whoever performs. And then let's just go and put a system together that we all believe in. Whereas I was trying to do something that they at the start weren't too keen to do, and we slowly had to build it. And I believe that by the start of this season, you'll see some shifts and changes and a little bit more pressure on our edges and a bit more physical D. But the boys grew really well, and I can't ask for any more as far as a group of men to coach. They just go to the well for you, and now they trust me. And they've seen some of the things we've brought in, showing some good signs that it put us in games, it won us games, and it put us very close to winning other games. So we've got a good trust now, and we can have honest conversations. And yeah, I'll be able to take them to some places this year that they didn't go to last year.
You mentioned trust there. How important was it to get the wins last season? Because as fans, you think that's sort of why you're there and what you want to see wins. But as a group, does that accelerate trust or?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's so much easier. You turn up on a Monday and you're talking about, like you can play really well and lose, and it's still tough on Monday.
Yeah.
But if you can play poorly and win, everyone's in such a different mindset going into Monday. So we're still going to have games this year that we're going to, feel the same, where we didn't quite win it, or we played well and lost, or we played poor and won. And we had a bit of mixture of playing really well and winning, playing poor and winning, playing okay and winning, and vice versa, playing well enough to win but didn't win. And so that's really important, mate. And I think Leon was the game that turned our season. And it wasn't that we were a better team that night. It was just we actually won. And the boys like, wow, we could have won last week. And then when we sit down and reflect at the end of the season and go across all our games, there was some outstanding performances that could have got us much further up the table if we probably believed as much as we believed at the end of the season. So, that's really important.
It was. I was going over Rodney Parade in the second half of the season. Every game I was thinking, we got a good chance today. Well, no matter who was coming up. And that was so good to feel.
The Connacht game was that point, I think, where for me it felt so different.
It was delirium on the terrace. It was nuts.
Oh, look, yeah, and it was felt by the whole group because we all feel the pressure as well. But I've been around long enough to know that trust your plan and just keep working. And if you do that, you'll get to where you need to get to. And I suppose the biggest thing that I found when I come here, the boys, like a lot of boys, I would say to them, right, and I'm looking and developing, growing a group, and I'd say, look, I knew we're gonna struggle at the start. So you can't go in and get disappointed if you lose your first, second, third game. And we showed enough that we could have won some of them. So I had the belief, but the players, here we go again, same thing. And then a lot of it was mindset. So I'd say to the boys, okay, how did you go? Tell me two things you did well in the game. oh, I missed a couple of tackles. I said, no, I don't want to hear about what you didn't like. Tell me what you did well. And the boys really struggle with that. And it's a Welsh thing, I
That's
think.
definitely a Welsh thing, yeah.
And so getting them and providing the space for them to express themselves and say, yeah, well, we lost, but I did this really well, and I'm really, really happy with that. But I need to keep working on that. That's fine. But they'd always go, or they're probably used to being told, oh, that was rubbish, that was poor. And that has an effect that we want the boys to believe and be brave around how we want to play the game. And we just got, as coaches, we've got to be the ones who coach the skill set to be able to execute under pressure. And we probably didn't quite get that right last year, but we had a new group, and I'd like to think they're going to be surprised by the mindset and how the boys play this year. And we got to really believe in ourselves. And the boys just they can't wait to get back to Riding Parade. They just loved that ground last year, and we want to turn that into a fortress, which we started to do a little bit of last year. So, and we won a few games away from home, so we got rid of a lot of demons in that year. And now we've got to go and let our actions do our talking. So, which will be good.
Poor Gareth, he did the pod for nearly 18 months before we got to talk about a win. So myself and Jamie had done a couple at the start, but poor Gareth really didn't get a chance to talk about winning very often.
I always had hope, though.
Well,
that's what I love about you.
So we've got some new players in the group. And tell us about those, Dale, because lots of our listeners aren't going to be super familiar about of players played in lower competitions in New Zealand. So tell us a little bit about the three that we're bringing in from the Southern Hemisphere.
So Eddie Anari obviously is profiled through the run of the Hurricanes and Supers, a very, very good rugby player, a great leader, a quality human being. Like, he will be team first with selections, with doing extras. He's been in the New Zealand system for a long time, so he's straight out of school in Auckland, headed down to the Crusaders, and we call the Crusaders the Navy because they're all just so good at what they do, well planned. There's no fluke to why they're a very successful organisation. And he spent probably 5 years down there. Then he left there and went to Moana Pacifica. So I was at Moana Pacifica when Eddie was there. And then from there he went down to the Canes, and he's made every post a winner there, and he's getting some opportunities. And you would have seen in his games that he's got some game. He's a tough, competitive 9, and got a big engine on him, and he's a good defender. So I love him for those three key reasons. But he's also got some X factor around, scoring tries and playing good rugby. So he's a great addition to our group, and he'd be really good for the likes of Shea and Morgan, just because he'll be all over helping them, driving them to make them better, and he'll support them 100% if they're selected or if he's selected. So he'll be really good in that space. Angelo Tuitavaki is a outside back, plays wing. He's played centre before, but he's mainly a winger. A big left boot, which will be really vital for us around being able to exit our own part of the field instead of just using Tinas and Gus. We've got a genuine left foot option. He's a try-scoring ball carrier, electric on his feet, but he's a big body, and he gives us someone else that we can bring in off our 9s, off our 10s, on his edge, and then he's got the ability to bust through tackles and then run 60, 70 metres with pace to score. So he's going to add some X factor and some real gain line. He's another very good footballer. So he will add value, and again, very good communicator, an organizer in the backfield. So he works in the back three really well. So it's really good to have him here.
And have you coached him previously, Dale? Is he a player that you've worked with in the past?
Yes, so I coached him at Moana Pacifica and at the World Cup in 23 in France. He was in
the Tonga team. Yeah.
Yes. And the last one is Terrell Pater, who Terrell obviously is a loose forward. He can play 6, 7, 8. He's physical. He's tough. He's a real team man, and he'll really add to our culture and environment. Again, another team first, very selfless person, and as I said, really tough. He's probably unlucky that he's been in the Blues this year, where they've got some outstanding loose forwards and they go pretty deep, big, physical, ball carrying boys. And there's probably two boys in there that were getting opportunities ahead of him. I would say one day could wear the All Blacks jersey. They're only both young men, and so he was behind them, well, they were getting the opportunities. But yeah, he's really good. And as I said, I've had a wee bit to do with him at Northland. I signed him into Northland, and he was in Auckland at the time. And his mum and dad are from Northland, and so a lot of Northland boys leave to go and work in the big city. And he wanted to come home for a contract, and I said, "Oh, well, you either got to play or you got to come and train with us." And this agent was saying to me, "Well, it's 2.5 hours to 3 hours to get up to training and get home." And I said, "Well, I don't care. If he wants to play for us, we trained Monday and Wednesday night, and the club teams trained Tuesday, Thursday." And I said, "And you need to play for a club up here. So if you want to show me," well, man, did he show me. He had a job working at one of the prisons. And he would get in his car straight after work and drive, sometimes from Hamilton, which is another hour and a half. So some days it was 4 hours he'd have to, with his shifts. He would do that and did that for 6 months. And then I signed him, and he just showed me, like, mate, if he sets his mind to something, he's got qualities that a lot of young men don't have. If he sets his mind to something, he's tough and he'll just grind it out. So he's going to be good for us as well. And no one will ever replace Wayno, but I have no doubt when he arrives that he's going to add good value to our group as well.
He looks a different kind of player to Wayne, or what I've seen of him, which isn't lots, admittedly, but he seems quite athletic.
Yes, he's athletic, and he's the sort of guy that. So to give you an example, when he was playing, I set him challenges around like making 18 tackles and 14 ball carries, and he would go out on a Saturday and do that. So he's got big numbers in him like Wayno. So and like when you look at some of our boys last year that performed really well, Carts, Wayno, look, Kitty, Youngie, Beddle, just big numbers, tackling, carrying. And he's got a bit of X factor with his carries. He probably offers a bit of stuff on an edge as well. So, all three men will really add some flavour to our group.
In terms of Harry Beddle, you mentioned him there. Were you surprised by him? Because after we talked about him, we were excited at the start of the season, but we thought he's not going to get a lot of first team rugby. He's probably going to be playing a bit more in the SRC for Ebervale. And as an Ebervale man, I was a bit disappointed he wasn't. But, we're kind of blown away by his work at the breakdown and his defensive work. Did he impress you in the same way?
Oh, mate, yeah, he's an outstanding man, and he'll be a Dragon for a long time. He's probably very, you could say unlucky, but very lucky that he's got Thomas Young alongside him, and Thomas has been outstanding around sharing with the young guys. Like we'll do our extras after training, and Thomas is working with the young boys on tackle tech, on stealing the ball jackals, on hitting pads and stuff. So he's been really good, and it's really funny that Youngie's turned up now looking like a 19-year-old, fit as going, and he's setting the place alight at pre-season, whereas this time last year, Youngie was slow coming in. He's a bit broken. Mate, he's worked really hard, and that's, I believe, because Bedge is on his heels, but Bedge has happened to be at his best. So we're going to have two of probably the Form 7s in the comp. And Bedge, like for the Welsh under-20s, usually some of the performances at that age level don't translate early, but the things that Bedge did really well for the Welsh 20s was his tackles, explosive carries. He's an action man, and he's very deceiving. He looks like a small person, but he's put on about 4 kg, so he's come back in really good nick.
Okay.
So look, there's going to be some real good competition there. So no,
his tackle numbers were just. What's it like on a Monday when you review tackle numbers and it could be Beddle and Tinas as the top two? Then are the other players getting a bit of stick when the outside half's beating people, or?
Yeah, I have a thing that you're either above the line or below the line. So we have our boys like our top three tacklers each week, and when you got beds playing, you got we got carts playing. And if you didn't make your tackle percentage, you come in a Monday and you're below the line. So you're in a thing this year called the Fight Club. So you'll be straight into the compulsory collision stuff on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But it was always interesting. Yeah, Bedge was always up there, and he was setting targets that a lot of boys couldn't chase. But it was really funny. Um, Wayno I was talking to Wayno because when I first got there, Wayno was a big ball carrier, but wasn't a big tackler. And so I really pushed him to get his tackle numbers up. And what was funny when he was leaving, he goes, we just sit and talking about it, and he just said, "Oh, thanks for the season, and my defence has gone well this year." And he said, and I said, "What was the best thing?" He said, "Oh, I just below the line. I just didn't want to come in on Monday and be below the line, so I made sure I made the tackles." So just having those wee things they chase is massive. But yeah, Beds was a big driver in that, and yeah.
And Tinas, he does love a tackle, bless him.
Yeah.
Is that something you've kind of asked him to do, or is that just him?
Mate, he's a 10 he's a 7 with a number 10 on his.
Yeah, that's what we've said out on the pod.
Yeah, so yeah, Tinas is Tinas. He loves a challenge. And I got to the stage where I was trying to say, mate, I don't need you to make the tackles. I don't need you making big dominant kills. Just chop them to the ground, eat job done, and get out of there. And he still kept going and smashing them. And we're doing a drill at training today, a tackle jackal drill. And Tinas is obviously flying into it, chopping and getting steals. And I just laugh because it's what he does. If he's good at it, just leave him alone, let him go to work. And, yeah, very unusual for a 10, but
yeah, he kind of invites people into his channel, which you don't often see much from Ted.
he does, yeah.
Gives them a bit of space and then smashes them, which is
yeah,
quite the thing to watch.
Very competitive man.
So tell us about your first. You've talked a little bit about it anyway, Dale, but just tell us, kind of looking back on your first season in Welsh rugby. What are the highs? What are the lows?
Okay, look, a lot of highs, and obviously they were determined well and truly before I got here around, winning away, hadn't won away for home, hadn't done a lot of burden and weight for the boys to carry. So Leon, I believe, was the turning moment. The game against Connacht at home, absolute high. And then you look at some of the other games, we learnt a lot about ourselves. We made Roddy Parade a bit of a fortress, and then our run in the European games was phenomenal. We got a bit of belief. We had a win, and then we had another win, and then we went over. When you're playing Stade Francais, who have got a $20+ million budget, and we go to their ground and they can pick a couple of three teams and still be very, very competitive, and to beat them, and then to go to Montpellier. And could have quite easily won that game. When you look, 7 points, and we let that first try that we had in the first couple of minutes, and then we hammered away at their line, and credit to them, they held us out. But they're real highlights to go on that run, and it would have been good to make the final. But I think that we were starting to run on fumes just because we had the same group of men. So that was outstanding, and really enjoyed that. And even the trip to South Africa, even though a lot of people, I went to South Africa with the team the year before. I flew in to watch them play the Stormers at the end of the season, and yeah, they were a shadow of the team that we took this year. And they had a lot of injuries, but we got over there and we really stretched the Stormers. We probably gave away a couple of easy tries. If we maybe we carried a bit of, we didn't quite believe, and we got on the plane to head to South Africa to play a team like the Stormers, and we got over there and we took it to them, and we're really close there. So I thought we performed really well there in South Africa, and it is a tough tour, but that toughness breeds toughness. And then like some of the lows were probably lows we knew we're gonna. Well, I wouldn't say knew we're gonna have, but like we went to Glasgow and played a youngish team. trying to build some depth, but it's really we've got to get our balancing right around how many new boys, we blood, and then we went to Benetton with a group. There was a young group, left a lot of our boys out of it because we had to give them a rest somewhere.
Mm.
And when you're chasing stuff, sometimes they even have to play, even if you get a couple of wins or you get close. So that was some lows. That was a low, and Benetton we got beat by 70. But a lot of young men got an opportunity that night, and a lot of young men then after that game had to make some choices. Some of it was they're young men, but some of them have really changed their mindset and how they go about stuff. And I'd like to think that we've grown and developed a group of good young men. I believe there's 20 plus young men in the Dragons at the moment that'll be the future of the club for the next 10, 15 years. And like some really good young talent coming through. So we've got to find a way to one, grow so we're not playing the same group every week because it's too long and too tough to do that. And you could probably see it in when we played Scarlets in our last game. We should have won that, and we were just tired. We were flat. And the emotion of losing in the European game had an effect as well. But yeah, look, and probably just all the goings on in Wales that are outside of our control, that we have no say in, but has a massive effect on our organisation, our players, the certainty. When you think about recruiting into the team, well, you're going to be here next year, you're going to be here the year after. And then for the players, if I got a job next, and so that's really tough, and I hate seeing that, and that's probably to me that's just not good enough. You got to treat your people who are your base product with respect and care, and I just felt that was for me firsthand. I was pretty disappointed in what I saw and what was going on. So yeah,
Welsh rugby, sadly, Dale, it's been doing that for the last, well, how long have I been watching rugby? 40 odd years.
yeah.
You have to take the rough with the smooth with it, I think.
Yeah,
With Welsh
did right you
rugby.
do. And I suppose now we've got a couple of years, at least we can just get in and as an organisation, and I can't say it from the top, I don't sit on the top table, but we've just got to be and do what's best for Dragons, and we just got to put our heads down and just work, and everything has to be about us and our region. And if we can keep growing on the back of last year and make improvements, then that can only be good for our area, the Dragons, and Gwent Rugby. So yeah, look, it's yeah. But
And that's exactly right. And like Gareth and Jamie, I'm not a Newport boy. I'm from the Valley. Well, Jamie is as well too. But we've always felt that the way to get more people from Gwent watching Dragons is to win games. It's not
yes.
about branding. It's not about what colour kit you play in. If there's a high quality team winning games week in, week out with good players, people will come and watch it.
Yeah, and I think it's also important that we need to get out to the regions. I don't mean take the Dragons out to play
No,
because grounds and
yeah.
facilities or
No,
whatever. But
the infrastructure. We had David Buttress on, or we had him on a few times, but he said they'd taken the Dragons up to Ebervale. This was about 4 years ago, and he said it was a mistake, just
yeah,
because it just wasn't up to it. The players are used to a quality of changing room and facility, and as much as I love the stadium at Ebervale, it's not built for that.
yes. But so one of the really good things that Philo did last year and James was we went out and did road shows. We got out, and the community team do a great job now. They're out, they're providing things, and so we went out to did three road shows last year, and we got for the next 3 Thursdays. We're out on the road. We're up in Ebervale on Thursday, and we just go up there. We train them. We go up there and we just run coaching with all the kids, and so we've got and we are doing more around that, around how we get out and connect. And I think the biggest thing, if we want to grow tribalism, we've got to connect and show everyone that they are part of us and we're part of them. So I think they've made some really good strides, but we can still go more. And when I look through, the young men that we've got coming through and where they all come from, they're filtered through all the clubs throughout the Gwent area, and it's pretty special. So when they start coming through, and there's another layer of connection, and so that's really important. You can't just play at the top and forget about how you got there and who you represent,
No.
because as soon as you do that, as I said, that's what a little bit what New Zealand went through with the super teams. They felt that they were sort of like a different organisation altogether. We're nothing to do with this. We're just here because this is the region we're in. And they've really realised that tribalism and the buy-in from the people is, and don't bluff us with rubbish and bullshit. Be genuine around what you're going to do and do what you say you're going to do. And I think that the club are starting to do some really good stuff around that.
Yeah, and that's the challenge with Super Rugby, with the URC. These are big things. It's not the same tribalism, is it? It's and there is still a number of Welsh fans who think we'd be better off with a more city or town-based identity and playing English teams. But I think they don't always seem to understand the economics of the situation. But I think with what the Dragons are doing and what you're talking about there is what we've been crying out for, really.
Yes.
Building an identity that people can buy into.
Yeah. And and just really connecting, and so when the Dragons win, everyone's happy. When the Dragons lose, everyone feels it, and you want to be part of it. So, yeah.
But yeah, I just think after the Connacht game, the atmosphere in the city was, well, it was buzzing, wasn't it, Gareth?
From what we can remember, basically.
Yeah.
It's a fair bit of celebrating going on. Last season, with the performances at home, wasn't particularly good for my liver because we were always toasting a few beers afterwards. But you're right with the connection. Even when we didn't win games, I think standing on the terrace afterwards and applauding the team, just because you can see the graft and the effort, and it's something you're happy to be associated with. Yeah, last season loved it. To be fair.
Yeah, that shouldn't be underestimated. The boys just loved going over to the stand over there, the singing and the boys just love it. They really feel the love the supporters have for them. So long may it continue, and we've got a big part to play in that, obviously.
Yeah, it's a symbiotic relationship, isn't it? The players will respond to the fans, and the fans will respond to how well the players are doing, and it just feeds each other. The energy feeds each other. Yeah. So, last kind of question for you then, Dale. What are we going to expect from the Dragons this coming season? I'm not asking you to say how many wins or anything. Just, what we're going to see on the field.
Oh, look, you're going to see a little bit more ambition around how we want to play, a little bit more of a threat with ball in hand. I'd like to think you're going to see a tougher defensive screen. Like at times I felt we could have been a bit more pressure on edges, and that's just getting boys to work harder on the inside, and that comes with capacity. So you're going to see a brand of footy that is exciting. I'm not saying reckless. We're going to back ourselves to go out there and beat teams, then try and hold on and not lose to teams. And then match our skill sets. So I'd like to think we're going to play an exciting brand of footy that matches the conditions we're playing in, but you'll just see a little bit more expression of how we want to play and a bit more ferocity around some of our collisions and stuff like that. So it'll be exciting rugby, and we'll wear our hearts on our sleeves and go out and represent. That's ultimately the main thing, and we just got to grow the things on the side of it to get us those W's.
So I always ask this of coaches, Dale, because I coach myself, but admittedly children rather than and some adults as well. But when you're looking for a player, what is the thing that you most look for in a player? What's the one quality that for you is absolutely non-negotiable? If they don't have that, you're not interested.
Oh, they've got to be a good person. Good people make good rugby players, and I mean a good person as in, I don't mean they just got to be team first, and they got to want to work hard, and buy into what you're doing. Got to be coachable, and they've still got to have a skill set and ability. But if you've got two guys with ability, and one's a dickhead, I'm not taking him, But if he's team first and works, and I don't mind a bit of individual, bravo and celebrations and things like that. You got to have that. You got to have boys that got to be their individual flavour, but first and foremost, I've got to know that they're going to represent the jersey. And if they're not, then don't have much time. Then move on. So
Nice. Any particular games stand out for you in the fixture list for the up and coming season, Dale?
all of them, mate, all of them.
Love it.
Yeah, they're all the first half of the season, and this is where it's very tough when you come in because every team is going through what we're doing. They want to be better next year. Even the teams that won want to be better. The teams that didn't win are going all out
Yeah.
And so when you look at our fixtures, the back end of the half of the season, some big guns in that. It's a big old season. I suppose the one disappointing thing, though, when I look at the draw, is that all our local derbies are all in the first part of the season.
Yeah.
It's good to have some derbies scattered through, not just for, well, the people want to, what do the people want to watch? They want to go and watch us
Yeah,
play
the
cards.
derbies are the big ones
The
for the
derbies
fans.
are the big ones. So we're going to have all our derbies done. And then, not saying we won't go hard at the other games. It's good to have them scattered through our program, a little bit like we did this year. But, we're playing like we play Ospreys one week and then we play them the next week. And then we play Cardiff, might be boxing. And then on New Year's, we're playing Cardiff again. So we're playing double headers. That's a bit unusual.
Is that emotionally quite tough then to get the players up for a derby, and then how do you get them to do you bring them back down and then up? What's
Oh, look, mate, I've found the Welsh boys, gee, when it comes to derbies, you can't do much with them. They just go clean off. They just, I've never seen a team. So when we played Cardiff, there was our, this year at home, big crowd, but the boys I've never seen a group of men change from being, I wouldn't say cool, calm, and collected to absolute raging idiots. But the way that we turned up and played probably outlined that the boys were just so fizzed up to play Cardiff. It was like I didn't care about any game in the world but this game. And we probably played accordingly. And it took us the first 3/4 of the game to get into it. But the boys don't need much of it. It's probably sometimes pulling them back. And if you win the first one, then it's probably much easier to get up for the second game if you've just lost because you're really motivated. But yeah, that's part of the mental challenge. And I believe our boys have grown massively around the mental side of the game. Philo's done a great job with our leadership group and growing our leaders and then starting to grow our younger leaders. So they're all things that were probably neglected and they're growing things you don't see, but they're really important when you want to win the close games and you want to keep calm in moments. And so look, there's some good growth right across our game. So we're really excited, looking forward to the season.
Yeah, no pressure, but we really do need to be Cardiff just for Gareth's Gareth's well-being more than anything else.
Yeah, well, we had a lot of firsts last year, so that'll be high on our list, obviously. But so will Scarlets and Ospreys and Stormers and Leinster and Munster.
I'd love to be the South African team. I know it's
Yes.
not easy, but oh God, I would love to be the South African team.
Oh, look, and we showed last year we could have, should have.
Oh yeah, after the Sharks game, yeah, it's
Yeah. And mate, that's the
on the
beauty of
Stormers
time.
game as well.
Do you think that
Not-
Sharks game, if that happened 6 months later into the season, we win it?
Well, I'd say so.
Oh, 100%. And
Yeah.
that's the thing is, but in this competition, you've got to be on your game. If you drop 15% or 10%, you'll get beat. And that's what the competition should be like. I think it's the best competition in the world, to be fair.
Yeah,
Just
quality,
because of the
innit?
flavour and the challenges that go with it. And, and then you got the European stuff thrown in. You can be like we're in South Africa one week and then flying back in to head to Montpellier and then coming back to go to Benetton and, Palmer. And then it's crazy, but it's just what you got to do. And so it creates a few, and so it was really good for us to learn and how to win away from home, but then how to travel and how to prepare. So that's all maturity and growing for our boys. So the best way to do it is throw them in and away they go. So yeah.
Amazing. I know. I appreciate we're keeping you, but if you don't mind me asking as well, on the other end of the scale to the leaders, the young players, anyone we didn't see much of last season, we might see this season. I'm thinking players that we've been excited about, like Harry Rees-Weldon, but he struggled with injury.
Yeah, so now he's looking like $1 million. He's looking like I might race him in the horse races in the weekends, mate. He's looking sharp. He's looking really good. A couple of young props, Jordan Morris and Owen James, I think, and Ollie Burrows, I think they'll really step up this year. I think we've got a young front row that could be the Welsh front row in a couple of years. So really big, looking for big things for them. Obviously Harry Biddle will be Harry Biddle, but he's a bigger, stronger version. And then like Shea Hope's back now. He did a Bronco today, so that's really exciting. Run a 4:30 for a guy that's today was his first day. He was allowed to get in with some vengeance for running. So that's he's not far off his PB, which he ran a 4:12, 4:18 last year. So he's right on. Morgan Lloyd, I think you'll see him step up a bit this year. I'd like to think that Jack Lloyd with a bit more opportunity and his growth and maturity, you're going to see a little bit more out of him, and we need him to, step up into, starting spot with the top team to give Tinas and Angus some opportunities to rest. Because we're very lucky that we got those two through most of the season without any injuries. And then you've got some young Kyo Parry, who's a young talent. He probably won't get much game time, but when he does, yeah, he's just a young man, green, but will only grow and get better. He's got some real special attributes. And then we've got a lot of young men. We've got Harry Ackerman, Joe Westwood, Ollie Woodman's back, fighting fit now. Young boy Brogan Leary, who's with Welsh under-20s, a good.
He looked good for his one game for the 20s, didn't he?
Yeah. So look, and Evan Mento, he didn't let us down when he played for us last season. So we've got some really good, Sam Scarf, Barney, Langton Cryer, Nick Thomas. So we've got some really good young men that are screaming out for an opportunity. They won't all get an opportunity, but I'd like to think in 12, 18 months there are more names. But if I had to name three, Harry Bedd will obviously be right there, but Jordan Morris and Owen James, like two young props that are just training the house down. Owen, he played his first game last year in South Africa as a 20-year-old tight head. He's 21 now, and he's in really good nick, looking good. And Jordan Morris is just looking powerful and strong. And so they're a couple of young, and yeah. So we've got some good young men coming through, which is exciting for our future.
Yeah, he's a unit, Jordan Morris.
Oh,
kind of like when we were like at the corner game when he came on, and he was quite close to us, and just the size of him, you could see how big a bloke he was.
And I look at Steve Tandy will be looking at a young props like that give them physicality, fitness. Like it's the way of the future, and yeah, they're two young men I have no doubt will have big futures.
So, but I said last question, but this genuinely is the last question now.
Oh, look, you're fine, mate. I got no issue. Yeah, you just carry on.
That's great. Yeah. So, on the pod, we were outraged at Rio Dyer's omission from the Welsh squad. What else is it do you think Rio can do? Because he was in the form of his life second half of the season.
Oh, look, he's been outstanding for us, and sometimes it's one person's opinion, but look, his defence grew massively during the season.
Oh, absolutely.
His high ball grew massively. He gives you genuine X factor like this. He scores tries that I don't think anyone else in Wales can score, and he's just look. He's a pleasure to coach. He's working really hard. And he's probably decided, well, look, if you don't want me, that's fine, but I'm going to be the best I can be for the Dragons. And if it's good enough, I'll get picked. So he doesn't dwell on it or lose any sleep on it. He must be a little bit inside, but he turns up every day. And yeah, look, mate, I can't believe that he hasn't at least got an opportunity to grow and be in their environment. They had him in at the start, and then they keep saying, we'll need to look at someone else. Well, there's the man. Develop him a bit more, but he could be, international. Well, you've seen, I'm not telling you anything. You can see what he can do, and he's just got better and better, and he's working hard on his game. So, and he'll continue to grow because he's got a lot of growth, massive ceiling, a lot of growth in him. So, I'd like to think by the end of this year they're going, oh, gee, we've got to find a spot for him in that World Cup or for next year.
Yeah, it's just. I think he's taken it with great grace. We definitely didn't. Myself and Jamie particularly were particularly vocal about it. But
he's a loved man, isn't he, in the region? Like the
absolutely,
singing his name from the stands, and mate, when he lights it up, he does things that no one else can do. So yeah, look, I just think that he's been a bit hard done by, but a good man. He's putting his head down and just keep working hard, and he'll be the winner of having that mindset.
He won't be the only, like it happens in international football, rugby all the time, doesn't it?
Yes.
That people don't get selected for whatever reason, and coaches pick the players they like. I
Yeah.
do understand
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gareth, do you have any more questions for Dale? He's been incredibly accommodating.
Yeah, sorry, no more questions. Just thank you for your time, Dylan, and thank you for last season. I really enjoyed it. Genuinely went onto the terrace every time, full of hope that we were going to get a result, and even when we didn't, it was performances to be proud of. So really enjoyed it, and looking for an even better season coming.
Yep, no pressure, and we hope to deliver one too. Well, not hope, that's not a very good plan, but I think I stated last year that we're going to do something, and I still have the same ambitions that we're good enough to do that. And let's bring it on and let's go and get it.
And I won't ask you about burning the boats on the away trips, which I've heard about.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think you're allowed to mention that with all the wildfires and stuff still going on in Spain,
No,
France, but yeah, no, it was a good wee part of our journey.
Good stuff.
No, awesome.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Dale. And before we leave, we just wanted to kind of, it's clear that Jamie isn't here, and many who listen to the pod will know why. His father Darryl passed away after a fight with cancer. Anyone who had the pleasure to meet Darryl will know he's just a lovely man who had real passion for the pod, bless him, but also for Dragons and for sport in Gwent. And we send our love and our thoughts to Jamie and his family, because we understand it's a difficult time. But Jamie, as well, being the man he is, insisted that we spoke to Dale today because he wanted the fans to hear what Dale had to say. So our love goes to Jamie and all his family.
Yeah, and just on behalf of the Dragons, yeah, we're feeling the pain of the loss as well. Jamie's dad, Darryl, was a season ticket holder and a good supporter of the rugby. So our thoughts and prayers are with the family, and we're hurting as well.
Thank you very much, sir.
Pleased to have met him, and thoughts with Jamie and his family.
Well, on that point, we'll say goodbye for the evening, and just one more thing: up the Dragons.
Yeah,
Up the Dragons.